This morning is the Member of Parliament for Embakasi East constituency, Babu Owino. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes.
How are you?
Pleasure to be here. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Top of the world.
Top of the world.
Yes.
A fantastic place to be. You must let us know what the view from the top looks like. And I guess we're getting into that this morning. We've seen you busy in the courts, busy in, and today we're looking at the results of a meeting that took place between your party and another. But then we're also looking at then what this portends for Parliament, a place where you've been most vocal about. But before we get into that conversation, Dennis Aseto is going to let us know what today's proverb is. We'd like to hear your interpretation of it.
So we're coming from Zambia, home of Victoria Falls, a country of about 20 million people. Economy is being powered by through mining, so they produce a lot of copper and cobalt, and they also have their own version of ugali, but it's called nshima. But this one is more of porridge-like, and it is their national delicacy. But let's go to our proverb today. One head cannot carry a roof. One head cannot carry a roof. How would you interpret that?
One head cannot carry a roof. I think it's about shared responsibility. That whatever people do, it's like kidole kimoja akiwezi vunja chawa. That you must come together. Just like in leadership. Leadership is about we. It's not about I. And leadership is about others. So when we talk about one head not carrying a roof, it simply means that responsibility must be shared. You must delegate. A great leader delegates. There's a gentleman who said, Henry Kissinger, that a great leader must have three qualities that can never be delegated. That the first quality, a great leader must have serious political acumen. Number two, a great leader must have passion and energy. A great leader must be an intellectual. And that the only thing that you can delegate, where now your proverb comes in, is bureaucracy. That is the only thing you can delegate. That if a leader misses any of the three that I mentioned before, then that leader will go into political oblivion, which is the entombment of the unworthy into their own dust of nothingness.
Hey, entombment.
Hey, you look for a dictionary and put it there. That's great. Looking at that explanation of that proverb probably then leads us into the conversation that we have this hour. And that this week, if there was ever any proof that 1,000 days in politics is like a day, or like a day is like 1,000 years in politics, either way, things happen. And the words that we've heard, bribes, boycotts, blames, Kenya's political heat is actually rising. And probably in a way that we didn't expect. But then again, about Kenya's politics, you can never expect anything and never expect that it be the status quo. There is a faction of members of parliament, whether they be drawn from the Senate or the National Assembly, that have already been named the rebel group. You, Mheshimiwa, are a member of this rebel group, as it were. And as that is happening, over here is cooking on this side that the president, and we'll talk about this because it's important for us to do so, has named Parliament as the center of corruption in this country. And here we are looking at the same group of people to essentially lead Kenya into the place where that oblivion of nothingness should not exist. How?
You've talked about rebels in Parliament, in quotes.
In quotes.
There's a great judge called Judge Wendell who used to say that it is better to free 1,000 guilty men than to jail one innocent man. Why are we rebelling? Why is there rebellion? There is no rebellion, there's just passion. And the passion to fight for the people. Passion to ensure that the high cost of living is reduced in this country. Passion to ensure that overtaxation does not exist in our country. Passion to ensure that the promises that were made by the government, including provision of jobs to our young men and women, to Kenyans, those jobs are given to Kenyans. Passion to ensure that we act within the doctrine of separation of powers, checks and balances, to keep the government in check, to ensure that there are no excesses in the government. And that is the role that we are doing in opposition. The moment we did not get what we wanted in 2022, which was the presidency, we became opposition leaders. And the work of opposition is to oversight. We are in parliament. The work of parliament as an independent body is to oversight the executive. If oversighting the executive is rebellion, then I want to be rebellious.
If that's the work that you've been doing, the president seems to think otherwise, because he said that you all have been in that, house, and what you've been doing is bribing members of the executive, asking rather for bribes in order to pass significant legislation, and essentially has said very clearly that the houses of Senate and the National Assembly are a mess. Those are the words he used.
In the book of Deuteronomy 16:19, the Bible is clear about bribery. And the Bible hates bribery and corruption. That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right. And further, in the book of Matthew 23, from verse 25 to 26, the Bible says, and I quote verbatim, that who unto you the scribes? The scribes were the Jewish jurists. Who unto you the Pharisees? Who unto you the Pharisees, who clean the outside of the cup, outside of the plate, and leave the inside of the cup? Leave it full of corruption. Leave it full of greed. Leave it full of unworthy things. When we talk of fighting corruption, is a great thing. But where does corruption start? If the president really wants to fight corruption, who unto you the Pharisee, who cleans the outside of the cup, but the inside? You have to start by cleaning your house first. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And if you're coming with dirty hands already, the executive itself is rotten. You saw what was talked about the e-citizen. Over 40 billion has been siphoned. From where? The executive. You look at what is happening, including construction of a church in State House. How much money does the president earn on a monthly basis? How much does that accumulate to in 3 years? Is it worth the cost of the church that is being constructed in State House? It is not. So we should start by cleaning the executive. You start by cleaning your house before cleaning the neighbor's house. Parliament is an independent body. And Parliament, I don't want to refute the claims of bribery. And I cannot also sit here to attack colleagues. But I rebuke matters corruption, because corruption has brought this country to its knees. But again, I want you to look at this thing from a different angle. What if this is just a game so that the president is seen as a victim who is trying to fight corruption and is being fought so that he can win back the souls of Kenyans? What if? But again, the president, in his wisdom or lack of the same, decided to form a team, a multi-agency team to fight corruption. The president himself has no trust in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The bodies that are existing has no trust in the DCI. Why do you form an unconstitutional body? Yet you have existing bodies that can fight corruption. Corruption should not be talked about. Corruption should be fought. And the president should lead in fighting corruption right from his house.
Babu, the scripture you quoted from Matthew 1
23, 25, 26.
Yes. My interpretation then is the Pharisee in this case will happen to be the president, if I'm correct with the interpretation. And so he's cleaning the outside of the cup or the plate. Why do you think he's doing that now?
You know, right now we are getting into a campaign mood where every politician is looking for votes. And right now, you will be surprised to hear so many things. You will be surprised to see people being taken to State House to get goods which does not exist. You will be surprised to see the executive walking across the country in the name of empowerment. What are you empowering if the least amount of money that is reaching a Mama Mboga is 64 shillings? And you saw that clearly. What are you empowering if you are taking 20 boys, 40 youth, giving one motorbike, which is costing around 100,000 shillings? If they divide, each person will get only 5,000 shillings. If they were to get money from a motorbike earning 200 shillings per day, will this group be empowered? Why can't the State House give one motorbike to each and every person who went to State House? What is happening in this country? We have a budget of 4.2 trillion. Why don't we follow the budget and do the development that is enshrined in that budget?
So do you think his timing is coincidental in the sense that he's in a campaign mode? Because he directly, because Parliament has been, for the longest time, as we've known, and there is a member of Parliament who said when the finance bill was brought to the House, they passed the bill for him. We also the clip.
Yeah.
And the lamentations from Parliament is they've been doing the president's bidding until he pointed back at them and said, "You people are corrupt." Then the whole House is furious and they want to summon him, and they even calls to, even by extension, impeach him at some point. Why is he directly attacking? Because he did this at the devolution conference in Homa Bay, where he started by talking about how even in the Senate, governors who are called have to fork out money so that then reports can be done that are favorable to them. Then now we go to look at the MPs. Why would you want them to attack the people who have brought you to that space? Why build this war between the executive and the legislature? Why now?
You know, if the president is a genuine person at fighting corruption, then the people who work with the president are the most corrupt. He should start by fighting those who are working with him, those that he call his brothers and sisters. The Nairobi County, for example, Dennis, then I come direct to your question. Look at the rot in the Nairobi County, City County. Look at the report of the Auditor General that was released, and I have part of it here. That the Auditor General said that in Nairobi County, 800 million shillings has been stolen in the name of paying salaries to the Green Army. Green Army is allocated 18,000 Kenya shillings, while they are supposed to be paid 30,000 Kenya shillings each. Where is the 12,000 Kenya shillings going to per person? Total of 800 million stolen from the Auditor General's report that was released 1 week ago. Another one is that the governor has been making double payments. These are very factual statements that you can get, 2023-2024 audit report, that the governor has been making double payment to suppliers, that one supplier has two accounts. Then that supplier, he's paid in double amount. The total amount of money that has been wasted or stolen is 140,944,662 shillings. Then, of surprise is this, my brother, that corruption through advocates, that only 4 advocates are owed 6 billion Kenya shillings in Nairobi County. These reports, you're going to get them, 2023-2024.
This is from what financial year?
2023-2024.
Only one financial year.
One financial
that much money is owed to 4 lawyers.
Only 4 lawyers.
For cases that they took for, or rather held for the county.
Only 4.
Okay.
6 billion Kenya shillings. You can imagine 6 billion Kenya shillings can do a smart factory in Nairobi to provide jobs for Nairobians. Now, of the total pending bill, which is 21 billion of the advocates, that again, you note that why are these advocates being given these billions? Okay? Now, the county is going to pay 299 million Kenya shillings in a criminal case number 493, just for not obeying court orders. That is another wastage. Another thing is Dandora dump site. that you're being told that machines were hired to work at Dandora dump site. 175 million stolen because per hourly rate should be 10,000 Kenya shillings, but the governor is paying 13,500. So 3,500 per hour is being stolen, a total of 175 million stolen. Another thing, as I finish on that and then I come to your question, is the school feeding program. Instead of dishing a county, the government is busy dishing the county. Clearly, 262 million Kenya shillings lost in dishing a county program because the amount that is supposed to be paid is 25 shillings per plate. But the county government is irregularly paid 30 shillings per plate. 5 shillings per plate is lost, totaling to 262 million Kenya shillings.
This is not Babu Owino
This is the report of the Auditor General 2023-2024, and you can check on that. Then there's another 145 million Kenya shillings contributed by the Embassy of France directly to food for education, which is unaccounted for. That money is lost. A total of 407 million so far stolen in just 1 year. What does this tell you about the friends of the president? It tells you that the president is not willing to fight corruption. The president is willing probably just to weaponize corruption, to use corruption as a tool to fight those who probably are opposing him.
So
now, in the issue of the parliament that you're talking about, leaders are elected because of different reasons. And in parliament, we have different leaders. There are leaders who have a vision to transform this nation, and there are leaders who have a mission just to pass president's bills. And they were clearly stating it. And it is a high time that parliament gain its independence. Parliament should not depend on the executive to execute its roles. Parliament should be independent and ensure that they keep an oversight on the executive. When you come to parliament, Dennis, that is not a place that you'd want to come to.
Why?
That is not a place that every person... I used to dream to be a parliamentarian because I knew the sanctity of parliament. I knew that parliament is a sacred place. I knew that this is a place where we make laws for posterity, but we make laws for an individual. There are those parliamentarians, few of them, who are futuristic, making laws for posterity. There are those who are hell-bent to receive instructions, to depend on the executive to make laws, which is a shame. But with this pressure, parliament should regain its lost glory.
Babu, as we talk about parliament and regaining its lost glory, there is what the president has said, and you are a member of parliament in that house. Is it true that members of parliament are bribed to pass bills? Have you witnessed that yourself, and have you flagged it?
Dennis, I don't want to be the devil's advocate. And what I can tell you is that in this country, corruption must be fought from the executive to parliament to judiciary to members of the public. I don't want to name names in this place and fight colleagues in this matter, but the first important question we would ask, where does this money come from? If parliamentarians are bribed, where does this money come from? The money must trickle down from somewhere, and the money is held by the executive. Therefore, corruption starts at the executive, and the head of the executive is the president.
Are you trying
Therefore,
to say
corruption starts at the presidency.
Are you trying to say that if there was no corruption coming in from the executive, from the presidency, that these allegations then would not be rife within
Where would
parliament?
members of parliament get money to be bribed with? Where would that money trickle down from? Where is the money coming from? Where is the source of this money for bribery? If members of parliament are being bribed, where is the source of this money? If Rigathi was being impeached, some money exchanged hands. Where did the money come from? If Rigathi was being impeached, who was the beneficiary? Executive. The president. Clean the inside of the cup before cleaning the outside of the cup. Start with the executive. Start with the corruption cases that are existing in courts. Let us see. Corruption case can take maximum of 1 month. If a presidential petition takes 2 weeks, why are corruption cases taking over 10 years in courts? What are we doing? Let us ensure that institutions are working. Let us ensure that judiciary is well funded. ODPP is well funded so that nobody accepts any bribe.
Babu, how do we explain it away? Because I'm conflicted. Because this auditor report that you quote this morning, and it's in line with what you've just said.
Yes, 2023-2024 financial year.
That's just a year ago.
Yes.
Right? 2023-2024. If we were to do a summation of all of the money that cannot be accounted for, that seems to have made its way. Okay, I wouldn't say made its way. Money doesn't walk. It's taken. That was taken for things that they were not meant for. You could probably, at the end, have a sum that is unimaginable. It'd be incredible. And then when you put that against the money that is needed, doctors don't have money. They can't go to work. Students, 7,000 bob, we still owe them for them to get capitation. Hospitals, today, they say we don't have enough people in the pool, so we can't offer healthcare. I mean, the list goes on and on. And that to see that these cases are never prosecuted to an end. And what am I talking about? I asked the other day. Tell me one case, one issue that has been brought before an Auditor General, whether it's Nancy Gathongo today or Eddie Ewuko before her. Tell me one case that has been recommended for investigation, that has ended up investigation and then has ended up in prosecution. When it is Parliament, whether you're looking at the Senate or the National Assembly, who is supposed to say, hang on guys, these monies that are missing, it's too much. These individuals who take this money, they've never, unless I'm wrong, Babu.
And do you know
Tell me one person who has been implicated in these audit queries or investigations have been done about this money that is stolen. Tell me one case that Parliament has said, okay, this is enough. DCI, EACC, get these guys gone. It's never happened.
Do you know why the cases never end up anywhere? Because of the influence of the executive. Because if somebody is caught stealing, that person is a president of a member of the executive, then there are favors that must be done to them. That is why these cases don't end. Judiciary is being captured by the executive. Judiciary should act independently. That's why the judicial officers should be paid well so that they can do their work perfectly well. Should never be influenced by any arm of government. Judiciary should act independently. These cases will never end so long as the president has no intent of fighting corruption in this country. We take loans in this country. We take loans to steal. The loans that we have to a tune of 11 trillion, around 52% of that is international debt, foreign debt. 48% is domestic debt. Taking a loan is not a problem. We know in economics of a great man called Franco Modigliani. He came up with something simple, the life cycle hypothesis. And in that, he said in the theories of consumption that it is not wrong to borrow. And that is why the loaning system, the bank system came up, the mortgage system. It is not wrong to borrow for you to enjoy what you have enjoyed what you ought to have enjoyed in 70 years' time. You borrow to enjoy it now, so long as you repay. It is not wrong. We found KICC here. These were probably loans. We found Mombasa Road here. We are enjoying it and we are paying it, but it is existing. But if you borrow money for patrimonialism, for favorism, if you borrow money for recurrent expenditure, if you borrow money to steal for corruption, then that country will go nowhere. That country will always be in debt. And now the debt ceiling has already touched its maximum point level.
Passed by Parliament, Babu. Passed by Parliament.
Passed by Parliament. That is bribed probably by the executive so that it is passed. You know, there should be no any loan that should be taken by this country without the approval of Parliament. But you see, as much as I defend my colleagues, I'm also disappointed at my colleagues. Let us do our work. The president is there and we leave office. We are there and we will leave office. The laws that we make must be laws for posterity. And therefore, in the fight against corruption, number one, we start with the executive. Executive must ensure that there is no money that is asked, if at all money is asked by members of parliament from the executive, that is released. Look at the governors. Governors, majority of them are very corrupt. Look at Nairobi County. And this is a person who only save for sleeping next to the president, walks with the president 24/7. Corruption is at the doorstep of the president.
Speaking of the
corruption, walking next to the president, and you still look at corruption and leave it.
So Babu, speaking of the president, among the 10 points in the NADCO report by your party, when now it came into this arrangement with the government, ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and you as the Embakasi East MP were among key figures who snubbed a joint Kenya Kwanza ODM parliamentary group meeting. My first question is, why did you snub the meeting? And the first question that we had asked, whether you are, because you've been branded and labeled as a rebel together with your other colleagues, what is going on within the party? Why did you snub, first of all, going for that meeting? Because it's on very rare occasions where you have something like this happen, and you have people like yourselves who will then decide, no, we're not going. Baba is there, yes, but we are not going there.
Dennis, I've always said, and I will say it again and again and again, that number one, I respect Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. He is my party leader. He is my leader. I respect him so much. And never will you find me fighting Baba in the public domain. But when the NADCO report was being drafted, when there was an agreement between ODM and UDA on the BBI, the BBG, the broad-based government,
yes,
I was not consulted. As a member of parliament, I ought to have been consulted because I represent the views of my constituents. I was not consulted. So therefore, when a meeting is called, if they didn't consult me, why did they want to consult me any further?
Was this the same case with Sifuna? Because Sifuna actually read.
Sifuna also has his own reasons. And number two, on that specific day, I chose to do the most important and urgent things, which was performing my conjugal rights. So I chose that which was more important to me.
Come on, Babu.
Than attending the broad-based government.
No, Babu,
Father, that's not something else to do.
I've baptized it well, you know.
Babu, let's look at
family first.
So what's going on within ODM beyond the PG and failing not to show up? What's going on?
Dennis, in ODM, my party, I don't have a position, not even a chairman of a polling station in ODM, and I don't have right to speak on behalf of ODM because ODM has a structure from the party leader, a full neck, to other members of the party. So I cannot speak on behalf of the party.
But you don't need to be in the leadership to say what's going on around. You're a member of the party. You have colleagues around yourselves. Because what is confusing here is there were earlier conversations that we are only coming into this arrangement because of what happened to the Gen Z, and we want this NADCO report implemented, the 10-point agenda. Then later on, there's another team that was formed to make sure that this thing is implemented again. And then we heard from your party leader that, look, we're actually in this arrangement up until 2027. Then thereafter, it almost looks like this might actually go beyond 2027. So it's a bit confusing. So what I'm asking is, within the party itself, what exactly, are you clear on the position, the direction from your leader, where this vehicle is going to?
You know, from time to time, Baba has always been clear on what he wants. And Baba has also mentioned that within ODM, people have democratic rights. to express their views. That is what ODM stands for. And it's said even in the public domain that we cannot all think alike. ODM, the D in ODM means democracy. That Babu has a democratic right to stand against any wrongdoing in this country. That Babu has a democratic right not to side with the government if it is oppressing the government. That Babu has a democratic right to oversight the government and ensure that government delivers unto the promises that they made to Kenyan citizens. That is what I believe that Baba Raila Amolo Odinga stands for.
But Babu, in the same breath, as you talk about you oversighting the government, and as we started, you mentioned once we get into elections, there is the majority and minority is to oversight government, right? But here's a question where the minority and the majority have formed government, broad-based government, and these then makes it difficult for your likes to oversight government. Just how has broad-based government made it difficult for you to do your job in the National Assembly?
The Constitution is clear that the role of a member of parliament or the role of parliament is representation, is legislation and oversight. So it doesn't matter whether you are in the minority or the majority, that you need to oversight. And that is why in the committees, for example, PAC, it is an oversight committee, pick an oversight committee. There are members of UDA in PAC and pick. And the sole function of those committees is to oversight the executive. Then let us not start saying that there is the majority and the minority. Parliament should oversight the executive. But influence from the executive makes the parliament be dependent instead of being independent. There's a reason why Parliament is one of the state organs. There's the executive, there's the Parliament, and there's the judiciary. So Parliament should be independent because it has its own budget that is running it. Should work away from the executive.
How has broad-based government
only in consultation with, but not for the executive?
How has broad-based government in any way interfered with the independence that ODM say would have in oversight?
You and I, Dennis, you know very well that we've already talked that Parliament should be very principled. But we also have the party leaders that must always be pleased by some members of Parliament. That to them, the word of a party leader is law. Only the word of God should be law. Word of a party leader cannot be law. But therefore, again, without going so much into this, because I know some words might come out which might be unpleasant into the ears of some of my colleagues and my bosses.
You know how to put words together.
And my bosses, Dennis. But I want to leave it at the fact that Parliament should be independent and should perform its oversight role and should legislate for Kenyans, not for the executive.
There's a lot of speculation. It's rife at the moment in terms of what is going to happen moving forward. That whether we like it or not, the political process, that again, which leads into constitutional processes, for example, voting, elections, and all of that. The political process, which we see playing out right now, might take some tumbles, might take some turns. And it's speculation, but a lot of times speculation within politics is not far from wrong. The engines towards this politics are political parties. They've come together, but the likelihood of them remaining together, according to speculation, and from what we can see as plain as day, then is being reduced significantly by the things that we see over time. What does it portend at the moment? Is everybody comfortable in their position? Do we see that things are going to change? Will ODM remain? Will the ODM broad-based government remain? Or do we see things changing? We can try to ignore it, but we can't.
You know, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Just like other political cycles, the previous elections, there have been formations, there have been changes, there have been coalitions, there have been new parties sprouting. I don't think if there'll be anything different in 2027, because politics is a game of interest, and politics is defined as what you get where, when, how, and at what time. And it is interest. The supreme one is interest for the people. What are you getting for your people? And that is why when people are nearing an electioneering period, they come up with different formations. And that is why you see opposition trying to come together. You also see opposition, that was ODM, joining UDA, that is government. So there are different formations depending on what interest you want to achieve in that formation. So I don't think if there will be so much difference with what has happened before. People will move in parties, people will move out of parties, people will move and form other parties, people will form coalitions, depending on the interest that shall be achieved. And I pray that that interest be the interest for the people, irrespective of where you join.
Oh, come on. It's very clear that for the longest time, the interest of the people is not front and center of these political formations that take place time and time again. That when people are making formations, that when people are making moves, really in their minds is that, okay, let me move here or let me align with this individual so that my intent for the people of Kenya can be achieved. Is that really what goes on in the minds of politicians when they're making these moves?
That is why I pray that this time round, let it be for the people. Let it not be an individual-based interest. And generally, leaders have different reasons why they get to elective seats. Some are personal interest, some are interest of the public, some are a combination of the public and private interest. But the most important thing is a leader is a servant. Leadership is about the people. What are you doing to the people? What legacy do you want to leave? As much as you want to accumulate what you want to accumulate as a personal and a private interest. What about the people that you have been elected to lead? And that is why I've told you that I am really praying that this time round, let us put the interest of the people ahead. If it is government, put the interest of the people ahead. If it is opposition, put the interest of the people ahead. Because you are opposing for the interest of the people. You are also working for the interest of the people if you are in government. So let us all, in whichever place we will be by 2027, let us all do it for the people.
There's
because
a call.
when you look at what's happening in this country,
it's difficult. There's
when you
a
look
call.
at education, when you look at health, when you look at capitation, when you look at health, when you look at jobs, people are suffering. And that suffering is what leaders should be a bridge between the dirty past and the golden tomorrow.
Should they be the ones to
Kenyans.
cross over? If leaders have been involved in the dirty past of Kenya, should they be the same ones that should be looked at to then bring about this golden promise of tomorrow?
We don't want to condemn all leaders. There are very good leaders like myself, who was ranked as the best member of parliament in Kenya by credible research firms. There are other leaders who've been delivering. There are governors who are working. There are members of parliament who are working. They are part of the executive, one or two, who are also doing something, which is good. We cannot condemn everything. But there are those who are not working. For those who are not working, they should work. As simple as that. And if they don't work, they should not be re-elected.
Do you think, because there's a lot of blame trading at the moment, between the executive, you have parliament, and this is on various issues of the economy, issues of taxation, generally issues of justice, governance. In terms of accountability, because someone can argue, it's easy then from the outside, it's easy to throw stones because it's not you. And it's easy to pinpoint flaws, weaknesses, and all these things. But if you are in a position then to bring about any form of change, any form of accountability, what will be your 5 top things that you will deal with for us then to say the country is actually on the right track? What are those things?
You know, Dennis, every leader should be accountable. Accountability means that you should account for your actions. You should account for what you ought to have done. Every area has a unique challenge. But generally, there are issues of concern in this country. The first issue of concern in this country is high cost of living. How do we ensure that high cost of living is reduced so that that hustler that you campaigned for as a president at least has something by the end of the day? That's a great issue of concern. The next issue of concern is the issue of overtaxation. How do you ensure that you undertax? Because overtaxation will make the government not to collect the required revenue because it reduces demand. Once it reduces demand, it reduces supply, the supply and demand curve. The moment that happens, it means that you will not collect more. But if taxes are low and you create an enabling environment for people to do business, multinationals are closing businesses, people are losing jobs. There are businesses, if you walk into these malls, go to Junction Mall, go to town, there are shops which are empty. Why? Because of high taxation, and there is no demand for these goods. There is no enabling environment to do business. So create an enabling environment to do business. The next issue of concern is the issue of unemployment. How do you create jobs? How do you ensure that there's a trickle down? How does the economy, how do you ensure that the economy is boosted? By putting money into the pockets of the people. Once you put money into the pockets of the people, then be rest assured that the economy will spur up. And this was done in the United States of America by a great man called John Maynard Keynes. The Keynesian theory said that just put money into the pockets of the people, that will create a spending frenzy. That person on the ground, when he has money, he will go to a shopkeeper to buy flour. That shopkeeper will notice that there's high demand for flour, will employ 2 or more people, jobs created. Then the shopkeeper will rush to an industry or a factory where this flour is manufactured. At the factory, there will be more jobs created because the demand is high. That person at the factory will rush to the farmer, noticing that he needs more raw materials. The farmer will employ more people, more machinery, more jobs will be created. That is the best way to spur up an economic growth in a nation. Create money into the pockets of the common mwananchi. That is now what we call the bottom up. But these are the bottom up that we baptized. Is a bottom up where you take money from the pockets of mwananchi, you take it up so that it is stolen there. Then you pretend that now we want to save you again. We want to fight corruption. My brother, when mosquitoes come together to form a multi-agency team so that they can fight malaria, does it make sense?
No.
And they are the cause of the malaria. It doesn't make sense, right? So,
yes.
Let us first of all talk about unemployment, we kill it. Overtaxation, we kill it. High cost of living, we kill it. Corruption, we kill it. Because more money, as you stated, is lost through corruption. Money that can do so many things. Money that can revive so many factories and industries. Right now, we are planning to sell pipeline. Do you know what it means to sell Kenya Pipeline? It means that if it is privatized, that person will set his or her own terms of the value of the prices of fuel because of transportation of fuel. The moment transport goes up, then it means that fuel will go up. If fuel goes up, anything that is capable of being transported, any good or service, will go up. And that is high inflation. That is high cost of living. So we will be overburdening mwananchi. So why are you thinking of privatizing a government parastatal like pipeline? You want to destroy this nation. So Dennis, let us focus on issues of concern.
Now, the challenge here is, and the frustration that sometimes we feel, because we're all Kenyans here, is that these same things you've just said are things I've heard before in all the election cycles. They're good ideas, great proposals, great vision. And this is coming from majority, very young leaders who are saying, these are how things have been done in the past. By the older guys, we're coming in, we have fresh ideas. Now, if you look at the average age in Parliament, and a lot of the people are very outspoken and who seem to be moving with the flow are actually very young politicians. The question that I ask is, do you find that as a young leader, and looking at the young leaders, because we are now having a conversation around Gen Zs, is it about offering a different political culture? Or is it, after every election cycle, a situation where you'll find these same young leaders fall into the same old habits of either patronage or even blame game, that I came into the house and I found there are cartels already. And these are the conversations you keep hearing, so that you're swallowed up by, quote unquote, the system.
You know, Dennis, what I can advise young leaders is that greed and money blurs vision. greed and money will make your vision blurry, will make you not go beyond. You've seen serious governors who could be potential presidential candidates or presidents in this country. But the moment they get into these positions at a young age, greed blurs their vision. The moment they see money, money does not make a man, man makes money. You cannot put money first. Money is a byproduct of any transaction or a relationship that you have. Therefore, you cannot put money first. Put services first. Money will just follow you. You don't have to steal money. If you are a governor, you will just have your money. There's no problem with that. But Dennis, what I can tell young leaders is not to have the mentality of the corrupt in this nation. Because we want a better nation. In this nation, if somebody was to die between an older person and a younger person, going by the doctrine of comorientes, what we call comorientes in the law of succession, that if two people are presumed to have died at the same time, then if, for example, an older person and a younger person got an accident and they died at the same time, then it is presumed that the older person died first.
Yes.
The doctrine of comorientes. It means that that younger person is closer to the future than the older person. That older person is soon finishing and going. If they are to die by natural death, they will die first. Therefore, this young person, if you are destroying a country where you will still stay in it, you will have more time to suffer in the same country, and your children will also suffer in the same country that yourself as a leader, you destroyed. So I can advise the young leaders that the Gen Z started well. They brought in a revolution. Let this revolution not die. Let this revolution be a revolution for change. Change for the better. Leaders need to be better. Why do you need to be a leader? You need to be a leader so that you can better people's lives and you can also better your life. So therefore, young leaders, this is my prayer. Do not join the bandwagon of those who are corrupt. Why? Because you will be judged with the same spirit that you are given this position. And have you ever noticed, Dennis, that every leader, my sister, every leader who is not re-elected, if you look at their lives now, they are so miserable. And you ask yourself, what happened? The answer is simple. God gave you an opportunity to serve, and you messed it up.
Or your intention was
never the same energy that God used to give you that seat is the same energy that He will use to punish you.
Is there any iota of understanding of leaders that we have right now on the need for service delivery? Because one would argue that majority of leaders that we have right now are only concerned on how they will maintain and protect their positions. Hence, we hear people calling for conclaves. We hear broad governments and people just thinking about the next election and not ensuring that the monarchy enjoys the powers they have.
The best way to think about the next election is by delivering. And you will not have time even to campaign. You will just relax. You will not be bothered going back to the people. You know, Dennis, leadership, the moment you are elected, you are elevated to the highest level of ignorance. So a leader is the most ignorant person. Why is a leader the most ignorant person? Because, Dennis, you are a leader. You are a leader of the people. You are a leader of all doctors, engineers, teachers, nurses, spiritual men and women. You are a leader of all thieves. You are a leader of all buildings, roads, rivers. Then this leader who is elevated to the highest level of ignorance, this leader is expected to take care of the interest of all doctors, yet he knows nothing about medicine. That is ignorance. He's expected to take care of all journalists, yet he knows nothing about journalism. He's expected to take care of all spiritual men and women, yet he doesn't know how to go to heaven, the way to heaven. He is expected to take care of all the thieves, their interest, yet he knows nothing about that, although some know so much about that thievery or thuggery. So therefore, a leader is the most ignorant person. So the moment you realize that you are an ignorant person, including me, because I don't know anything about your field, the moment I realize that I'm ignorant, then therefore, the leadership bus is the only bus that is driven from the back, not from the front. Because if you sit at the driver's seat from the front, then be rest assured, that you will only assume that you know everything, like some of us, at the presidency. You will assume that you know everything. By the end of the day, you will mess. Sit at the back. Let doctors advise you about issues health. Let engineers advise you about matters, infrastructure and roads. Let journalists advise you about what they want. Let spiritual men and women advise you about what they want. So if you are a leader, sit at the back, be advised, execute. Remember, by the time you are looking for votes, that time is not politics. It is a time for looking for a job. It is a job interview. You are being interviewed. So therefore, the person who sells the best policy gets the job. The time where politics comes is the point at the execution level, where the word executive comes
into play.
Where you execute, then you go back to the people and tell them, this is what I did. So coming to your point, it is easier to be re-elected after fulfilling your promises, after executing and going back to the people. You won't even need any principle. People will just re-elect you. For example, in 2017, I beat my opponent with only a difference of 4,200 votes. But in 2022, I beat the same opponent with a difference of 35,000 votes. So it tells you that people are satisfied with my work. So just work. Do not look at the principles.
And the results will come.
The sky will always depend on the ground. The principles are the sky. If you look at the sky and you forget the ground, then the sky will also drop you like a hot potato, because they're also depending on the ground. They only want leaders with the ground. So as a leader, go on the ground, forget about the sky. You can also create your own sky.
9:02, Babu Owino is the Member of Parliament for Embakasi East constituency. Leadership is what has come out of this conversation, and it's a time that everybody needs to, I guess, take the mantle at whatever level. Thank you for being here with us this morning in this conversation. We always look forward to the future for the people. That's what we fight.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.